The year is 529 BC. Cyrus the Great has united most of the Persian and Median tribes, founding the Achaemenid Persian Empire. He has conquered the ancient kingdoms of Assyria and Babylon, granting himself the ancient Assyrian title of King of Kings. Having created the largest empire of its time, stretching from modern Turkey to Afghanistan, he now sets his sights north to the vast Eurasian steppe in present-day Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, and marches to a conflict that will be his last. In 6th century BC, in southern Kazakhstan, east of the Caspian Sea, roamed a group of nomads known as the Massagatai. They were a Scythian people who spoke a language closely related to the Indo-Iranian of the time, and frequently interacted with the more civilized kingdoms and empires they encountered. Scythia being the region north of the Black Sea and north of the Caspian Sea, in which many nomads and steppe people inhabited, and an inhabitant of this region was generally just given the moniker of Scythian. The Massagatai were skilled horse riders, and they treated their horses spiritually, often burying them with adorned garments and treasures. They were described as a warlike people. They primarily drank fermented mare's milk and ate from their livestock. When a Massagatai man was too old to care for, they would kill him with his beasts of flock and cook the combined flesh to eat. This was said to be a desired death, while the Massagatai who died of sickness were not eaten, but buried and lamented. The following is an account of ancient history as told by the quote-unquote father of history, Herodotus. As with all ancient history, the veracity is debated. Just before 530 BC, Cyrus the Great, in an attempt to extend his dominion, offered to marry the then widowed queen of the Massagatai, Tomyris. Knowing very well that Cyrus wanted to wed her to subjugate her people to Persian rule, Tomyris refused Cyrus's advances. This prompted the King of Kings to advance directly towards the Massagatai in an attempt to conquer and integrate them into his mighty empire. As he prepared for his assault, Tomyris sent Cyrus a messenger, telling the king to seize his conquest and return to his own country, or suffer battle with the Massagatai. Cyrus consulted with his advisors, and after much discussion, they decided that they would set a trap for the Massagatai army. They would leave a small force of Persians as bait, and they would leave them in a camp and litter this camp with provisions, most notably large amounts of wine. Then the main host of the Persian army was hidden off around the shrubberies to the side, perhaps behind a hill. When the Massagatai army, under the leadership of Tomyris' son, Spargapses, attacked and defeated the small force of soldiers left behind, they began to feast on the Persian provisions. Unused to the effects of alcohol, the Massagatai quickly became inebriated, and the main Persian force arrived and easily defeated the drunk Massagatai. Cyrus took Spargapses hostage and planned to use him as ransom to pacify the Massagatai. Tomyris, when realizing this, sent a message offering Cyrus an ultimatum. Should he return Spargapses unharmed, Tomyris would allow Cyrus to depart unpunished from her lands, even after all the destruction he caused. But should he continue his conquest, Tomyris would give Cyrus the fill of blood that he is so insatiated for. Cyrus and his advisors were unsure how to continue. However, when the imprisoned Spargapses sobered up and realized his predicament, he asked if he could become unbound in his cell. His Persian captors granted him this request. Once unbound, Spargapses managed to take his own life. Cyrus did not have his bargaining piece anymore, and the Persian army was stretched in an unfamiliar, hostile land. Tomyris rallied all the tribes that aligned themselves with the Massagatai, and the two armies waged one final battle. The battle was said to be one of the stubbornest of all fights that were ever fought by men that were not Greek. However, eventually the Massagatai prevailed, and a substantial portion of the Persian army perished. Cyrus was slain, and Tomyris had his head severed and stuffed in a wineskin bag. Herodotus then concludes the account with Tomyris declaring, "Though I live and conquer thee, thou hast undone me, overcoming my son by guile. But even as I threatened, so will I do, and give thee thy fill of blood." With renewed interest in classical history and literature during the Renaissance, Tomyris became a culturally significant character, and her supposed defeat of Cyrus has inspired many cultural references. Tomyris's legendary feats captured a developing theme of female empowerment and triumph over the powerful man, which became increasingly popular during the Renaissance. A note on the veracity of Herodotus' story must be emphasized. As in all ancient history, it is very difficult to accurately conclude what did happen. We can only take what was said at the time and supposed facts and artifacts as evidence. There are also many other historians who have varying accounts of Cyrus's reign and death. Many modern and ancient historians after Herodotus believe that Cyrus was not slain in battle, and if he was not decapitated, as we can point to Cyrus's tomb, which supposedly does hold his remains. It is hard to believe that Cyrus's body was not recovered as well, considering his stature and the sophistication of the empire he created. However, most importantly is Herodotus's significant antagonism towards the Persian rule. He was living in a Greek city-state, an ethnically Greek state that was ruled by Persians, and he had a heavy disdain for the Persians. So much so that a romanticized account in a 10th century Byzantine text called the Suda references Herodotus leading a revolt against the Persian rule in Halicarnassus. This is almost certainly fictive, but it goes to show Herodotus's antagonism towards Persian rule. Still, all ancient histories remain murky as the annals of history age and expand. Tomyris's triumph, whether true or fictive, remains one of the many occurrences that show that even the greatest of rulers can be defeated by overextending their reach and underestimating their foreign adversaries.